Hi there, welcome back. I'm Mike and this is my channel. It's finally happened. This is my review for the last of the ToyWorld Dinobots. This is TW-D05, I believe? Yes, this is TW-D05B actually, because he's not the blue version, but the B should stand for blue. This is the red version. This one came out a little bit after the blue version. All the rest of the Dinobots were red, so I wanted the red version. When you make a combiner, I just wanted it all to kind of look the same. It made sense from a combiner standpoint to have them all be red. Being the red version, this is the box that I got. I was a little disappointed they didn't just slap it in the regular ToyWorld box. We got this kind of generic brown, plain looking box that just says Spear on it and ToyWorld logo on the top. They put literally zero effort into this figure. Inside, it's pretty much the exact same as every other Dinobot released. But ToyWorld obviously couldn't be bothered to put together a decent box for this figure. That being said, was it worth the wait? Let's find out. It's hard to say that I have a favorite Dinobot, but Swoop always was the one that intrigued me the most. I don't think he was my favorite, but the fact that all the other ones were kind of ground dinosaurs, and this is a flying one. Actually, fun fact, dinosaurs didn't fly. If it flew, it's not technically a dinosaur. It's okay, you can go look it up, I'm not wrong. I was just as upset finding out about that as you are right now. This is ToyWorld's take on Swoop, and they definitely tried really hard. This is probably the worst representation of a pterodactyl I've ever seen. I can see what they were trying to do, and it had some neat ideas, but it falls flat. And in fact, it falls flat so hard that it ruins the entire set. While the other figures have their problems, most of them are generally pretty good. Swoop fails so hard that I no longer even care about these. Regardless of the fact that the combiner may or may not be the one of the worst that I've ever played with, we'll get into that in my combiner review. This figure by itself is just awful. Let's take a closer look at its dino mode, or not dino mode in this case. That's because I said earlier they don't fly. Let's start with all the things right about him. He has wings, his chrome is shiny, he sometimes can stand. That's about it. Let's go over all the things that are absolutely and completely 100% wrong with them. First of all, he is a box. He's literally just a square with wings, a head, and feet. Typically, Swoop pterodactyls have a very thin, kind of lanky body, maybe a little squat, but not like this. Not like this. Not like this. His head is on this weird pivot, and most of the time it will not be held up by its own weight. It constantly falls down unless you sort of wedge his head crest in between his arm vents. On top of that, while the beak does open, I notice, at least on mine, the plastic does not want to stay together up here, and the face tends to want to come off the head all the time. It just does not stay on. There's supposed to be a peg, it's supposed to slide in, doesn't really work. Really awful. Also, his robot arms are just sitting here on his back. Don't even attempt to hide them. They don't tuck away anywhere, they don't fold into the sides, they just kind of go on his back, and that's it. It's lazy. On top of that, his tiny little feet only hold his weight sometimes. Getting him to stand is a balancing act akin to one of those internet pictures you see where people put forks on the ends of glasses, holding up other forks. You know the ones I've seen. It shouldn't be this hard to get a dinosaur to stand up, especially not in dinosaur mode. Part of it is because of these stupid little ankle joints, and the only real articulation he has in dinosaur mode, other than his head, kind of, and his wings, kind of, are his stupid little feet, but they don't really move in any way meaningful. Like, it doesn't really help that you can make him do this, other than you can make him look like he's sitting down like this, and that just doesn't look good even a little bit. You know what? That's pretty much it for dino mode. Let's go ahead and see if I can remember how to transform this guy into his robot mode. Lift the arm up, and we're just gonna go ahead and slowly work these wings out. Now, when you first get this figure, these wings will not go into the holes. It's very scary, and when you put them in, it will stress the plastic. Now, I haven't seen it break, and I haven't heard of anyone else's breaking, but it does stress the plastic, and it does suck. Next, we're just gonna kind of fold up his feet here, because that's how they go. Now we're gonna kind of break apart the legs here. So it's interesting how these do kind of fold up, but not interesting enough to make me care. first we're gonna form up his legs here and then give him a little turn. There's a little latch right here that will close up and lock this leg straight. On the inside, there's another little hinge down here. When it's in torso mode, it's up here. It does kind of come down like that, like a Combiner Wars figure, and it pegs into a peg on the inside. The inside of the leg here will close up, and there's little pegs that go into the little holes, and that makes the leg nice and secure. Next, this foot right here will kind of come down and just sort of straighten it out, and that's that. That's one leg done. We just do the same thing to the other side here. So now we have his lower body done, and look at how thick his legs are. It's not awful, but it's not great. I don't know, I do feel like it's sort of nitpicking at that, but he does have especially thick calves. It could be better, that's all I'm saying. These little chest flaps come down from the top to cover his missile pods that he has in his chest. His arms are interesting, they unpeg from each other. There's pegs that go into each side here. Now inside are little grooves that these arms have to lift up and fold into. So they just kind of come down and then fold into a little groove right there. Same thing here, falls into the little grooves. So his arms are on his side like arms should be. And as you can see, the head wants to fall apart, so it does just sort of come down. And there is a little peg hole on the bottom and a peg right here on his chest, but good luck getting it to stay in there because it will not, and you can't make it. Lastly, we'll go ahead and flip out his wrists. Just kind of open up the back here just like almost any other figure ever. And there you have it. This is Swoop in robot mode. Now, of course, he has accessories and stuff like that. Like his wings can go back on him. There's a couple holes you can pick back here, but the ones that were on there in dyno mode seem to work the best for every mode. Now, there's a couple different settings here on the wings. There's an extra flap right here because you can make the wing bigger for combined mode to see, so you can see it from the back. But what I like to do is fold it back and then fold the wing down like this, just so it kind of doesn't look ridiculous sitting out of the side of him. So here we go, and from here you have a couple of accessories. He comes with 2 different swords and 2 different sort of gun missile launcher things. Now traditionally, Swoop does have guns on the back of his wings, and he's supposed to have these in dyno mode, but I did totally forget. The holes that these go into are too small, and it did crack when I put them in the first time. Also, with this extra piece down, it covers the hole it sits in, so you just kind of have to make do and just kind of put it there if you want to post the missiles on his wings. The other option is putting it in his hand, just because you can. I mean, it goes in his hand. Then his sword, of course, could go in here, and you can double sword it, you can double gun it, however you want to do that. And if you want to, you can actually flip these wings around, and there's little peg holes, and the swords can peg into the sides here. It does look a little goofy on the front, but you can switch the wings so they're on the back and put the swords here for storage if you want to. Let's go over articulation real quick. He has an overly sensitive head, and this little mechanism doesn't stay down, so as you move the head, it's going to move the whole piece. You'll notice that's a running theme. I actually had to put some nail polish on the ball joint up here because the head was way too loose. He has upper arm movement up here, as well as, because of the joint, he can go up extra high. It can move all the way around, but it is hindered by his wings. But if you remove the wings, the arm will go all the way around. He has an upper bicep rotation. He has a pretty good elbow bend right there. And he does have wrist movements that some of the earlier Dinobots in this line don't have. He does have waist rotation, but again, it will automatically unpeg his chest beak. His legs go out this far. They go back that far. He has an okay knee bend, but there's a lot of stuff in there to kind of stop it from moving anymore. It does go out. You can get him in a good like karate kick right there if you want to. And his feet do have a crazy amount of movement to them because of the transformation, and it does rock pretty well. So all in all, he does have a decent amount of articulation, but unfortunately articulation can't save a bad figure. Most of the badness of this figure does come from the alt mode. The robot mode's not bad, it's not awful. Could it be better? Sure, but the Dinobot mode is definitely where this guy really shrinks, and that's really sad because I feel like we haven't gotten a decent Swoop this whole time, other than maybe like Fans Toys and the original G1. Fans Projects doesn't look any better. In fact, I sold all of my Dinobots so far from that line because I didn't like it. I'm kind of going to do the same for this. I just want all of them to be good. And having one bad Dinobot spoils the whole bunch. It really does, because they have to look good on the shelf in every mode. I'll admit, I was intrigued by this line mostly because of how the Dinobots looked in Dino mode. For the first 3 figures, I thought they looked fantastic. When Iron Dread came out, I was like, yeah, that's a decent, it was a very okay slag. He wasn't great, but he was good enough. Unfortunately, Swoop here absolutely killed any love I had for this line. It actually retroactively went back and killed my enjoyment of the previous figures. Is that fair to them? I don't know, but it's what happened. Unfortunately, the line's other gimmick, the fact that become a combiner, doesn't really save this, so I'm probably going to end up selling these guys, but I promise not before I review the combiner, just so you can see everything about this line. So all in all, I'm going to give this figure 4.5 out of 10. He has a decent bot mode, but it isn't problem free, but the alt mode is bad enough to actually kill the entire line for me. So yeah, I can't really recommend this guy. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Stop looking at me, I don't like you.